Conversion Bible is powered by Growth Suite. Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
Okay, so have you ever been, you're browsing online
Yeah.
and you add something to your cart,
Yeah.
and then you start thinking, well, is there like a better version of this?
Right.
Or, what about this other thing that goes with it? Like you're buying a camera and then you're like, oh, do I need an extra battery?
Yeah.
Or a bag?
Oh.
Like that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what we're talking about today. It's this whole idea of upselling and cross-selling on your Shopify store.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to this idea of boosting your AOV, your average order value,
All right.
and offering more value to your customers without having to chase down more traffic.
Exactly. Making the most of the traffic that you already have.
Yeah.
Those people that are already coming to your store and already interested in your products.
Yeah.
Let's maximize that. Exactly. So to start off, maybe let's just define these terms really quick. Upselling and cross-selling.
Yeah.
What's the difference? So with upselling, it's essentially you're offering a customer a higher priced or premium version of the product they are looking at.
Right.
So it's that, would you like to supersize it?
Exactly.
That kind of a thing.
Would you like to upgrade?
Yeah.
Would you like, a little bit better of a version of this?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then with cross-selling, you're suggesting related or complementary products. So they're buying a coffee maker.
Right.
Maybe you suggest some nice coffee beans or filters or something like that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's the distinction.
Yeah. So it's kind of simple, right?
Yeah.
Upselling, you're moving up.
In the same...
Yeah, same category.
Exactly.
And cross-selling, you're adding something else on.
Yeah, adding something to complement that.
Yeah. And so why should you focus on this as a Shopify store owner? Like it's not just about getting, the extra couple of dollars in the cart.
Right. No. It's, well, the first thing I think most obviously is the average order value,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's going to go up immediately.
Right.
But then also think about introducing your customers to other products that they might not even know that you sell.
Right.
It's a really good way to show off the breadth of what you have.
Yeah, exactly. Like they come for one thing and then they discover, oh, wow, they actually have, this whole other range of stuff
Exactly.
that I'm also interested in. Yeah. And luckily, Shopify kind of has a good foundation for this. There are some built-in features you can use. And then there's, of course, a ton of apps in the App Store.
Tons of apps.
To really help you take it to the next level.
Exactly.
So there's a statistic, I read this the other day, that really caught my eye. And it said that effective upselling and cross-selling can increase revenues by 10 to 30%.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's a huge, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's really powerful about this is you're talking to people who are already on your site.
Right.
They're already interested in your products. So the chance of them actually buying is way higher than trying to convince somebody new to come to your store.
Exactly. That initial hurdle's already been overcome.
Yeah, exactly. So this deep dive, we're really going to go deep into what it looks like in practice, how to actually do this.
Yeah.
So first off, let's go back to the basics, the fundamentals. So, we talked about the definitions.
Right.
Upselling is the better version, the more feature rich.
Yeah.
And cross-selling is the add-ons. Can you give us a concrete example to really bring this to life?
Sure. So let's say somebody's buying a laptop.
Okay.
The upsell might be getting a faster processor.
Okay.
Or more RAM. The cross-sell would be like a laptop sleeve.
Okay.
Or an out mouse or, something to go with it.
So more processing power in the computer, that's the upsell.
Exactly.
The sleeve to protect it, that's the cross-sell.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It feels very intuitive.
Yeah.
But there's a whole psychology to it, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that's what's interesting is that, when someone has already decided to buy something, they're already kind of in that buying mindset.
Right.
And so they're much more likely to consider a suggestion that's relevant to what they're already buying.
Right. It's almost like they've already committed to spending some money.
Exactly.
So that extra little bit, it doesn't feel like as much.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can actually implement these strategies, kind of throughout the customer's journey.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
You can do it right on the product page itself. You can do it in the cart.
Yeah.
You can do it at checkout.
And even afterwards through email.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So lots of different options.
It's interesting to think about how it's evolved, right?
Yeah.
Because I imagine in a traditional brick and mortar store, it was the salesperson who was kind of doing this.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was all up to, the intuition of that person, the salesmanship of that person.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas now it's all kind of like algorithms and data.
And data analysis. Yeah, absolutely.
And you can kind of personalize those recommendations in a way that you couldn't before.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we know what it is, but let's dig into the business benefits.
Yeah.
Why is this so powerful for your Shopify store?
Well, I think we've already hit on a couple of them.
Yeah.
But, the AOV, the average order value,
right,
that's huge.
Yeah.
If you can increase that by 10 to 30%, which we just talked about,
yeah,
that's going to directly impact your monthly revenue.
Right, right.
And then, think about customer lifetime value.
Yeah.
If you're showing them other products,
Yeah.
they might not even know you had.
Yeah.
That might turn them into a repeat customer.
Right.
Which,
yeah,
everyone wants that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And when those suggestions are good,
yeah,
it's almost like good customer service.
Right, right. It shouldn't feel like you're just trying to sell them something.
Right.
It should feel like you're helping them.
Right. It's like, oh yeah, you know what? I could actually use that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, oh great, they thought of that for me. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And it's much cheaper than trying to get a new customer.
For sure.
Like I've heard that statistic so many times.
Right.
Like, it's so much easier.
And it's true.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to get an existing customer to buy again.
Yeah.
Than to bring someone new into the fold.
Yeah, exactly. So smart upselling, cross-selling, it can really stretch your marketing budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and make those dollars go further.
Exactly.
And it almost feels like if you're not doing it, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Right.
Because chances are your competitors are doing this.
Yeah, they probably are.
Yeah. And
so you've got to keep up.
Yeah. You got to stay ahead of the game. And even those small increases in AOV, they can really make a big difference over time.
Well, absolutely. Over time, it all adds up.
Yeah, it compounds.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so the business benefits are huge. Let's go a little deeper now into the customer psychology. Why do people actually respond to this stuff? What's going on in their heads?
Well, online shoppers, they tend to make decisions relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And they're heavily influenced by things like social proof.
Okay.
Which is, seeing what other people are buying, and perceived value.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can tap into those two things with a really well-timed, relevant suggestion,
right,
it can work wonders.
Right. Like if they see, those frequently bought together.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's something that's actually useful, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I do need that.
Right. It's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that, but now that I think about it, yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah. And then there's this thing called commitment and consistency.
Right.
What is that?
So once a customer has decided to buy something, they're more likely to be consistent with their following decisions.
Okay.
So, if they've already decided they want to buy a pair of shoes, and then you offer them, a slightly more expensive pair of shoes that are a little bit better,
right,
they're more likely to go for that.
Yeah.
Because they've already committed to buying a pair of shoes.
It's like they've already got their wallet out.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then what about the fear of missing out?
Oh, yeah. FOMO.
Yeah.
FOMO. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
If you can make them feel like they're going to miss out on something.
Right.
If they don't upgrade or buy this extra thing, they're more likely to do it.
Right. Like limited time only, those kinds of things.
Exactly. Yeah. Only 2 left in stock.
Yeah. Everybody else is buying it.
Right.
Don't miss out. Yeah.
And then, of course, trust is huge.
Yeah.
If they trust you, if they've had good experiences with your brand before, they're more likely to take your recommendations.
Right. They're more likely to believe that you're actually looking out for them and not just trying to upsell them something they don't need.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you mentioned social proof earlier.
Right.
How does that play into this?
So things like reviews, customer testimonials, most popular tags, those kinds of things.
Right.
Those can really, really help.
Yeah, because it's like it's not just you saying it. It's like other people have tried this and they like it.
Yeah, other people have vetted this for you.
Exactly. Yeah. But you got to be careful, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be too pushy.
Right. You don't want to be sleazy.
Right.
You don't want to make people feel like you're just trying to
Right.
Get as much money out of them as possible.
Yeah. You really want to make it feel like you're trying to help.
Right. You want to be helpful.
Yeah, you're the expert. You're the trusted advisor.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we understand why it works. Let's talk about like the plan. Like, how do we actually do this?
Yeah.
So as a Shopify store owner, where do you even begin?
Well, the first thing you have to do is set some goals.
Okay.
What do you actually want to achieve with this?
Okay.
Do you want to increase your AOV by a certain percentage?
Right.
Do you want to, boost sales of a certain product line?
Right. So not just like, we should do more upselling.
All right, exactly. Be specific.
Yeah.
Quantify it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, we want to increase sales of accessories by 15%.
Right, exactly.
Over the next quarter.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then once you've got those goals, what's next?
Well, the next thing is to understand your customers.
Okay.
Not all customers are the same.
Right.
So you want to segment them.
Okay.
You might segment them by their past purchases,
right,
their browsing history, how much they typically spend.
Okay. So somebody who spends a lot of money every time,
right,
you might upsell them differently than somebody who's just buying, a small item for the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to cater your recommendations to each group.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then after you've kind of segmented them, what do?
Well, then you need to look at your products.
Okay.
Which products have natural premium versions?
Right.
Which products, go well together?
Right.
Like the classic example is batteries.
Yeah.
If someone's buying a device that takes batteries, offer them batteries.
Yeah, yeah. Or like a phone case.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. It's those really obvious logical connections.
Right, right. The more natural the connection, the better.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we've got the products figured out. What about pricing?
Well, pricing is important.
Yeah.
You don't want to make the upsell so expensive that people are scared off.
Right.
But you also don't want to make it so cheap that they don't see the value.
Right, right. It's got to be enough that it's worth it to them, but not,
right,
so much that they're like, oh, forget it.
Right. It's got to be a sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about like timing?
Yeah, timing is important too.
Right.
You want to think about things like Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Right.
Holidays.
Yeah. When people are already spending money.
Exactly. Those are great times to really push your upsells and cross-sells.
Yeah. And that this shouldn't be like a separate thing, right? Like it should all be part of your overall marketing plan.
Exactly. Yeah, it should all be integrated.
Right.
Your email marketing, your social media.
Yeah.
All of that should be working together.
Right. It all ties together.
Yeah, it all ties together.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a good plan in place. Now let's talk about the actual tactics, the nuts and bolts of upselling.
Okay.
What are some of the key techniques?
Well, one of the most basic, and it's very effective, is product page upselling.
Okay.
So right near the add a cart button,
right,
you offer them a better version of what they're already looking at.
Yeah, okay.
And you really want to highlight the benefits of that upgrade.
Right, right. Not just here's the more expensive thing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. What about using those comparison charts?
Yeah, comparison charts are great.
Yeah.
They really lay out the differences.
Yeah.
In a way that's easy to understand.
Yeah. Here's what you get with the basic one. Here's what you get with the upgrade one.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this works for both, physical products and even like digital products and services, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for example, if you're selling, software,
right,
you might have like the basic plan, the pro plan, the enterprise plan.
Right.
Yeah.
And each one has different features.
Yeah.
And you can, make it very clear what those differences are.
Right.
And then people can choose what's best for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can even do things like offer a discount if they sign up for a yearly plan versus a monthly plan.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Give them an incentive to upgrade.
Yeah. And what about displaying those feature differences? Like what are some good ways to do that visually?
Yeah, so you can use feature comparison displays.
Okay.
Just list out the features side by side.
Yeah.
So it's very clear what you get with each one.
Right. So they can easily see, okay, for $10 more, I get these extra 3 things.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And what about those things like warranties and protection plans.
Yeah. Warranties, protection plans, those are good too.
Yeah.
Especially if you're selling, electronics or appliances.
Right.
Something that might break.
Yeah. Where people are, maybe a little bit worried about it breaking down the road.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then what about for those more complex products or technical products?
Yeah. So you can offer things like installation services.
Okay.
Training.
Right.
Enhanced support.
Right. Yeah. If it's something that
if it's something that
needs a little extra hand holding.
Exactly. Yeah, to get set up.
Yeah, give them that option. Yeah. And creating urgency is always a good thing in sales, right?
Right.
So how can we add that into upselling?
Well, you can offer limited time upgrades.
Okay.
Upgrade within the next 24 hours and get free shipping.
Right.
Or get this exclusive feature if you upgrade now.
Right. This weekend only.
Exactly. Yeah.
Limited time offer.
Right. Make them feel like they have to act now.
Yeah. And then even after they buy, there's still opportunity, right?
Yeah. You can do one-click upsells after checkout.
Okay.
So they've already bought the product.
Yeah.
But you offer them something else that they can add on very easily.
Like, oh, you just bought this camera.
Right.
Would you like this extra battery?
Right, exactly.
Just click here.
Yeah.
Very seamless. Okay, so that's upselling. Now let's talk about cross-selling.
Okay.
What are some of the effective approaches there?
So cross-selling, one of the most common ways is the frequently bought together, right? That's leveraging social proof.
Right.
People see that other people have bought these things together.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to do it themselves.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's just really obvious, right? Like you're buying this.
Yeah.
You obviously need this other thing that goes with it. So like the camera, maybe you need a bag or a tripod or a lens. Or,
exactly.
Yeah. It's those natural complements.
Right. The key is that it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And bundling's a good tactic.
Yeah, bundling's great. Like you can offer
a package, a bundle of products.
Yeah.
And you offer a slight discount.
Right.
And people feel like they're getting a good deal.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I was going to buy these things anyway.
Right.
But now I'm getting them together.
Yeah.
And I'm saving a little bit of money.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what about after the purchase?
Yeah. So you can do post-purchase cross-sells. Yeah.
Someone buys something, you send them an email.
Right.
Say, hey, you might also like this.
Right. It's like, oh, thanks for buying the camera. Here's a bag that would be perfect for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep them coming back.
Yeah. And even in the cart, like before they check out,
you
can suggest things there too.
Right. You can have a little section that says, people who bought this also bought this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you can also think about it in terms of your categories.
Yeah.
So like if somebody's buying, men's clothing,
right,
you might suggest, belts,
right,
or shoes, or
exactly.
Yeah. And personalization, like you said, that's so important, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if you know that this customer has bought this type of product before,
right,
you're going to suggest something different than somebody who's never bought from you before.
Yeah. You want to tailor those recommendations as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your store becomes smarter over time.
Yeah, exactly.
The more people use it.
The more it learns.
Yeah. And you can even go like cross-department.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So if you're selling, fitness apparel, you might also suggest protein bars.
Right.
Even though those are technically in different departments.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got all the ideas, but now let's talk about how to actually do it.
Yeah.
Like on Shopify, what tools are there?
Well, luckily, Shopify has some built-in features that you can use.
Yeah.
So you can enable basic product recommendations.
Okay.
Most themes have a section for related products.
Right.
You can use discount codes.
Yeah.
And you can even use Shopify's marketing automation tools to send out post-purchase emails.
Right.
So you've got a good foundation there just within Shopify itself.
Yeah. And you mentioned theme customization.
Right.
So how can we optimize those sections?
Well, a lot of themes will have a section for related products or people who bought this also bought this.
Right.
Make sure those are prominent but not too distracting.
Right. Yeah. So it's noticeable.
Right.
But it's not, like a big flashing light.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Shopify has their own algorithm, right?
Right.
For recommendations.
Yeah, they have an algorithm that looks at customer behavior, product relationships,
right,
and tries to suggest things that make sense.
Yeah. But if we want to get really fancy, like if we want to use AI and do like really personalized recommendations,
Right.
we probably need to use an app, right?
Right. Yeah. There's tons of apps out there that
Yeah.
can really help you take it to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. And mobile optimization is huge too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because most people are shopping on their phones these days.
Yeah. Most people are shopping on their phones.
So, all these pop-ups and banners, they've got to look good on a phone.
It's got to be easy to use on a phone.
Yeah. Yeah. And with so many different ways to do this, how do we know what's actually working?
Well, that's where A/B testing comes in.
Okay.
You want to test different variations of your offers,
Right.
different headlines, different images, different discounts.
Right. So it's like it's not just you set it and forget it.
Right.
You're constantly testing.